I love that we're talking about conversations because I really believe that what I do on my blog is really the Friday night after work martini conversation about Ben Affleck or Brad Pitt or whoever, just online.
I don't think it's just a Friday night martini. My wife tells me all the time, there's the morning coffee happening with this conversation. You know, it's a great history, and we were kind of chatting off camera about the idea of what you have built with the website and obviously now with the talk show, this whole idea of building a conversation around pop culture, around gossip.
Well, I think it's hugely important. I mean, I love that we're talking today about conversations because Lainey Gossip is a conversation. Every day I open my blog with Dear Gossips. It's a letter, and that introduces the day's content. And what I'm trying to do in that format, and it will never change, is Dear Gossips, here's what I'm thinking about, all my thoughts. Are we gonna fight about this? Let me know what you think. Yours in Gossip, Lainey. And it is meant to convey to people that, hey, we're vibing about this together.
But what do you think it is about celebrity gossip, about pop culture, and you know the nature of speaking about these issues that makes gossip so relevant? What is it that makes gossip so popular?
When you're talking about the celebrity, that's just the introduction into the conversation. The celebrity is your conduit, but the conversation really is about what you believe in, what your values are, what you would have done in that situation. When you're talking about Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner getting a divorce, that's the gateway. But in the process of that conversation with your girlfriend or your colleague, you're sharing your views on marriage. You're sharing your views on, if he allegedly cheated, this is what I think. If he allegedly cheated, maybe he couldn't have been trusted. If they're still wearing their rings, this is what it means about co-parenting and the attitude that people should have after they get divorced for the benefit of their children. Those are not just gossip-related conversations. Those are social conversations. Lots of people get divorced. Lots of people experience infidelity. Lots of people have struggles in their relationship. And in that conduit, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner, thank you very much, you are shaping your perspective about those issues and sharing it with your community.
You know, it's so poignant because I remember when you were on stage, TEDx Vancouver 2012, and you give this TED Talk about the sociology of gossip, and I remember something that stood out to me was you saying that celebrity gossip is the conversation that exposes who we are. Given everything you've covered and everything you've analyzed, how many true stories and themes do you think that are out there and just get recycled over and over with new faces?
Well, there are, I mean, if you, in literature or in comedy and drama, there are probably only 5 themes, right? Love, hate, betrayal, disappointment. I mean, these are very common themes, and you can extract them from every story. So these are universal and they're immortal. The interest in love is immortal. The interest in betrayal and the reaction from betrayal is immortal. The interest in pursuing happiness is immortal. And so given that those themes are immortal, the players, the actors, and the writers who are interpreting those themes will go on.
And the storytelling aspect is so vital, and this is what you do well with every single post, because there's so many blogs out there. How do you approach the idea of telling a story and doing it succinctly and doing it well so your gossips are responding and sharing this content?
Well, this, like, I mean, you kept using the word story, and the reason why is because it is storytelling. Everything is storytelling. Even sports is storytelling. You know, when you watch a sports program or when you're watching a game, the story is that these are the players, they have to abide by a set of rules, but then the drama unfolds within those parameters. That's a story. And so when you write about celebrities, you can't just throw out the facts. What you're doing is you're extracting the storytelling elements about it. You know, these are the characters, what were their motivations? What could possibly have been their ulterior motivations? What would the outcomes be? How can they change those outcomes? All of that is storyboarding. All of that is, like, you know, that kind of that kind of approach to every post I have is probably not unlike the approach that writers have in a writer's room when they're writing a TV show. But in essence, the bare bones of the process is building a story and breaking a story.
And spending the time to write that story, and given your schedule of all of the shows you work on camera, but you're so committed and the discipline's there to write for your site, how much time do you spend writing every single day for Lainey Gossip?
At least, 10 hours. But writing is not just this, right? Most of it is the thinking. Most of writing exists away from the actual typing. Your ideas come to you maybe over time. There are some ideas that have been germinating for months, and then finally, you get an excuse to attach that idea to a certain celebrity news story that comes out. So if you approach it that way, it's probably more like I'm always writing, because I'm always thinking or observing or gathering.
What do you see as the biggest pitfalls to blogging websites that just fizzle out? What are they missing?
I think the first thing would be patience. We've seen so many internet websites and blogs on the internet, and the story is so truncated that we think that it's from zero to hero right away in like a week. And so a lot of people start blogging, or they want to start blogging, and they think that they can be that overnight success. The problem is that the backstory isn't sexy, but the backstory is always the same. People have worked really hard and they've had to be really patient, and they do it for free for a long time. I did it for free for years. My website didn't start monetizing for several years. So when you do it for free, you know that you're doing it passionately, right? I want you to think about doing something for free, a job, essentially a job for free for 5 or 6 hours a day. How many people would fall off? Now, if you can do that for 5 or 6 hours a day for months on end, for a year, then you know, hey, I'm committed to this and I'm passionate enough about this that if it doesn't happen for me, at least I still love doing it. So I think patience and expectation is the first thing. And then I think that consistency is another, and that relates to the patience. Like, people know that when they come to Lainey Gossip that I write from Monday to Friday, and that this is the word count that they're going to expect. Like, in general, there have been lighter days and heavier days, but in general, they're going to get 3,500 words. That's over 3,000 words a day. They're going to get something to read, and they know that it's not going to be like sometimes Tuesday, sometimes Monday. Consistency, people have to trust that. So it's patience, it's consistency, and then you have to have a very, very clear vision. It can't be like, if I'm the nice website, great, then you have to be nice all the time. When Chris Brown beats the shit out of Rihanna, you gotta be nice. If you're snarky, then you gotta be snarky consistently. Sometimes you can be nice if it's warranted, but you gotta inject a certain amount of bitch in there. Otherwise, that's not your brand. So it's about brand definition and making sure that the vision is cohesive.
How do you approach the idea of making all of these conversations count? Because sometimes you have 30 minutes to sit down, and you know full well in the junket circuit, sometimes you only have 4.
Yeah.
How do you make every conversation count?
To make every conversation count, and this is, I'm sorry if this is a boring answer, but this is really something that we have to be better at, is to be present. Think about it. Are you really present when you're texting someone? You don't have to be, right? You don't have to be present when you text that person. You can actually text and do 8 other things at the same time. And more, those are the conversations that are happening between people. So when you're having a real conversation, and I characterize a real conversation as an in-person conversation, eye to eye, I feel like we might be getting rusty at being present, at that being the only thing you're doing and paying attention to, and then reacting to it.
The idea of a conversation that really changed the game for you, and I know there's so many here in the broadcast realm with the family, what stands out for you for the most important conversation of your life?
Well, it would have to be the most important person in my life, and that's my mother. the Squawking Chicken, as I affectionately refer to her as, and she's become a character on my blog. And so she's definitely the most important person to me, and that's why the most important conversation I've ever had is with her. And if you asked me this question a few years ago, my answer would have been, oh, the conversation that we had when I was X years old and she told me this. So today, when you ask me what the most important conversation was between me and my mother, I would say that it was a conversation that I just had with her a few days ago. She's been in the hospital for several weeks. She has multiple myeloma, so she underwent chemotherapy and a stem cell transplant, and then she had pneumonia following her chemotherapy. So she's been in the hospital for several weeks nonstop. And we recently had a conversation about, I walked into, the hospital room and I was like, hey, how are you? And she always sort of does a scan of me, head to toe to see if I look presentable. And she was like, well, you look very good today. And I was like, thanks. And I said, I really like my hair today. And she's lost all her hair from chemotherapy. And she always had the best hair. I mean, my mother's hair was like legendary. And she said, your hair looks fine, but my hair looked better before.
She's keeping you in check.
She's keeping me in check.
Yeah.
And she also, followed that up with, thank God, because you got your dumpy legs from your dad's side of the body, and you have your shoulders are too wide from your dad's side of the body, but thank God you got my hair. It's not as good as my hair. Thank God you got good hair. And my takeaway from that conversation was, I am my mother's legacy. It might be my hair, and that's very superficial, but it also could be my attitude and my approach to life, that she's especially ill and she can't fight anymore as strongly as she did before. So all the things that I do are a reflection of her fight and her legacy and her influence.
It's a big title, to take on the legacy of the Squawking Chicken. Are you ready?
I know. I don't know that I'll ever be ready, like she's the Squawking Chicken, but I just want to live the life that she wanted for me and that she probably wanted for herself and never got to have.
Hey, it's Riaz. Thanks for watching. For more conversations, click on subscribe and check us out online at everyconversationcounts.com.
Alfred's a good man, so I know this is gonna, there's gonna be some dangerous stuff. So Alfred's gonna take that. So we look alike.
I'll tell you when I saw this.